Welcome to the June 6th DoK Operator SIG meeting. We have just a handful of things on the agenda. Robert Hodges couldn't make it today, but I got an update from him to share. Michelle, we'll start with Michelle's update on the operator roundtable. And then I think if Alvaro is here, he can give an update on his project. And it looks like Adeep and Nitish want to give an update on theirs. I don't know if they join, we'll see. But Michelle, why don't we start with the operator SIG operator roundtable update?
Yep, sounds good. So I think a week or two ago, I lost track of time already. We had we hosted a roundtable with a number of folks who have written operators, and the goal of the roundtable was to get feedback about things that the Kubernetes project could do better to make it easier for people to write operators. And so I can summarize a couple of the key topics that we discovered or talked about. I think first, there were some folks from EDB who are maintainers of the cloud native PG operator. They gave a lot of very valuable feedback about the reasons why they decided not to use stateful sets in their operator. And they talked a lot about sort of the difficulties of trying to coordinate custom sequences for leaders versus followers. Like, I think for them, they had to do special things to the leader and have ordering things like make changes to the followers first and then the leader, or vice versa. And so those kinds of challenges, it was kind of hard to do that with stateful sets, because with stateful sets, everything is kind of like ordered from 0 to 1, or it's kind of parallel, but there isn't really like a way you can specifically say this particular ordinal is special. And so that's potentially an area that I think would be interesting to explore further in the Kubernetes project to see if we can kind of support that better. That way people don't have to, kind of reinvent their own stateful set, for example. So that was one interesting topic. Another interesting topic, we had some folks from the Druid, the Druid project come. They had some interesting discussions. I think first off, they said because Druid directly uses object storage, and that was able to help them solve a lot of the sort of reliability issues, because object storage is sort of infinitely scalable and globally accessible. So that solved a lot of problems for them. But what they are seeing are some challenges in being able to accelerate object storage, because I think one of the things with object storage is it is cheaper, but there are some performance limitations compared to other storage systems like standard block devices or filers like NFS. And so I think the Druid folks have been exploring using local SSDs as an accelerator for object storage, or as tiering for object storage. And in that regard, they have been encountering some management difficulties managing those local disks. And so I think another conclusion there is that that's also an area where I think the Kubernetes project could also investigate further in ways to make sort of this this idea of like local SSD as a cache tier to some other storage backend, make that a little more seamless, so that maybe and to make that management easier, or maybe even seamless, so that people don't actually have to care or distinguish that. Those were the two main topics that we got to discuss. There were a lot of other topics we would have liked to discuss, but we kind of ran out of time. And I was kind of thinking maybe the operator SIG might be a good place to carry forward those other discussions. There's a couple of topics, like I think deep diving into the two topics that we did discuss, the data tiering with like caching as a tier. I think we definitely want to deep dive more into that and see what other use cases other people might have. Also wanted to dig in more deeper into, the people's experiences with stateful sets, and also PDBs and how they handle cluster upgrades and be able to handle that disruption when the actual infrastructure is being upgraded underneath. And then a last topic that I think we didn't really get into at all, but I think would be interesting is exploring sort of the trade-offs between enabling application level replication versus using storage level replication. And yeah, so I think if there's interest in this group for any of those topics, I think we would be happy in future SIG meetings to discuss them further. I guess we don't have full attendance from everybody here, but I think we can, I think as a next step, we have a detailed write-up of the roundtable session. I think we're gonna send that out as a blog, a DoK blog, and then maybe from there in the Slack channel or something, we can gauge interest in the various topics.
Yeah, I love that. And I know a few of the folks here were on that call as well. And we can make sure we invite everybody who was there onto the SIG call so we can continue those conversations. So it sounds like next time you'll publish that blog, we'll share it on the SIG channel. And then there are 3 topics that you mentioned already. What we could create, just kind of keep different topics ongoing in this doc, in the agenda doc, if that makes the most sense, or however you want to manage that. If people have topics they want to discuss, they get added to the agenda as well. Would that make sense for topics too? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so just kind of roundtable on this call, do those topics, are those interesting to you? Is there one that stands out more than the others as maybe the next topic we want to address? And I put the agenda link in here where I was taking notes. So data tiering with caching as a tier, experiences with stateful sets. Is the PDBs and how they handle cluster upgrade, is that separate from stateful sets, or would that be part of that same?
I guess it could be a separate one. It's semi-related, but arguably it could also be separated.
Okay. And then the last one being trade-offs between app level replication and storage level replication. So just kind of, let me roundtable with people here. Are any of those strike you as the most, like what should we can, and I don't know if that maybe the multiple topics we can go on a call, but any one of those in particular standing out as one that you'd love to dig into right away? Let's say Edith, any of those topics stand out for you?
No, Melissa.
What about Marco?
Well, the PDB one is another thing that we had to do in our operator. We have a PDB orchestration inside, so it is important because well, data is it requires PDB. So yeah, and we have two different PDB, one for the standbys, one for the primary, because you can lose a lot of standbys, but you have only one primary, so you can never lose that. So I think that is a very interesting topic.
Awesome. Okay, one vote for that one. What about Mark?
I'll add my vote for the operator versus stateful sets and what are best practices, because I think a lot of people are trying to figure this all out.
Yeah. Okay. And Victor, what about you? Any of the topics stand out?
Yeah, the upgrade one will be interesting for me.
Okay, great. And I know, and Joe, and I won't pick on Joe. Okay, so, all right, yeah, that sounds good. Michelle, is there anything else you want to chat about with this group while everybody's here?
No, I think this is good. Yeah, I just wanted to get a general sense of, you know, people's interests, and then in the future meetings, we can sort of try to prepare for the topics
Awesome.
and have a
Okay.
deeper discussion.
Okay, fantastic. Very good. Well, then if nothing else there, any questions for Michelle I should ask? I know that some people were at the operator roundtable, not everybody was. Or does anybody have any general questions about that or for Michelle about these topics or anything else?
Melissa, not a question, but going back to your question, one of the things that I would love to do something is experience with a stateful set. So it's some of the topic that stand out for me. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Very good. So all of the above, Michelle, pretty much. Are all good topics. Okay, cool. Excellent. Well, then let me give a brief update on behalf of Robert about the security hardening guide. If you haven't heard about this project before, you can look at the proposal in the agenda. Right now, he's gathering initial operator guidelines into a white paper format on Google so he can get the conversation started. So he's been reaching out to the security tag in Kubernetes, just trying to make inroads there to see, has this been done before? Is this going to be useful? How can we collaborate? And he's pulling a lot of the initial guidelines that have been discussed on previous calls and from his white paper that he did for ClickHouse. We're making it more general. He's pulling those into a doc. He's on PTO through mid-June, so I'm guessing we'll see that from him somewhere toward the back half of the month. And then he'll be looking for contributors to participate in that guide. And just as a general note for everybody, the timeline is we're hoping to get this written and done and then present, have it ready by KubeCon in Chicago. And Robert will be presenting on this topic on behalf of the SIG and other things. So it'll be a great project to get involved in if you can.
Yeah, that's the project I plan to contribute to. I'm a database guy and been participating in the CNCF security tag and Kubernetes security SIG as well. But still beginning, so that's why I don't know how much, not deep enough, I think, but I love to participate in that effort.
Fantastic. Yeah, have you met Robert before?
Yeah, I think joined one of the call, had not talked to him yet.
Okay. I'll connect the two of you. He might not respond because I think he might be out, but just so you have that connection. And I know he's certainly looking for contributors. If anybody wants to reach out to Robert too, it's just Robert Hodges. He's on the DoK Slack and he's in the SIG channel as well. So you can reach out to him there. Okay, very good. And I don't see Alvaro here today. I know generally speaking on the operator feature matrix, if you want to contribute to that, details are in that project proposal and on the GitHub. You can see it there. It should be clear how to submit to that. If you have questions, just reach out to Alvaro. Again, he's on DoK Slack and in the SIG channel. We have the website structure for that project completed, and we're meeting with Alvaro to just ask some questions about how to make it all work and look how it's supposed to. That's the update there. And then I don't see Adeep or Natish on the line either. And I don't know where their project stands, but if you want to look at the last meeting, there are a lot of details in the Slack about this DSOI spec project proposal. So if you're interested in that, look, in fact, in the agenda, there's a Slack link to the last meeting. I would say go look there because there was a lot of discussions and questions about what this project would look like. So if you're interested in that one, check that out. And I realized I missed the intro community question, so I'm going to ask it now. So what is an excellent book you have read recently? I can share, I'll start to give you time to think about it, but I read multiple books at once. The two that one that I'm just finishing is The Ministry for the Future, which is really fantastic. It's a sci-fi book, but it's very realistic about, if you've read it, it's kind of about climate change and what's happening, but what people's reaction might be to this. So it's really, really interesting. And then I was also reading a book about Dolly Parton songwriting, because I love Dolly Parton and she is a national treasure. So let me do a roundtable. How about Michelle? What's a good book you've read recently?
Oh man, I'm kind of embarrassed because I have not read any books recently.
Just docs and GitHubs.
Yeah, lots of docs and people's blogs on stuff. I guess, I mean, I maybe instead of a book I've read recently, just in general, my favorite authors, I guess. I like Terry Pratchett a lot. It's kind of like fantasy humor.
Yes.
Yep.
Terry Pratchett is awesome. Lovely. How about Edith? How about you?
Yeah, I recently read The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's a really nice book.
Yeah.
Behind about behavior of people in the workspace.
Yeah,
really
that's a good one. I've read that before. I appreciate that book. What about you, Marco?
Besides technical documentation, I discovered Sanderson. I like fantasy. So yeah, I'm reading the Stormlight Archive. I'm at the third book at the moment. So
oh, nice.
It is.
That's great. I haven't heard that one. I'll have to check it out.
No, Sanderson is a fantasy writer that is very prolific, and I like very much his style. So yeah. It's Stormlight Archive. It meant to be 10 books. I'm reading the third one, and they are very big books.
Great summer reads, or all year long reads, it sounds like.
All year long, yeah. That is it's something like 1,000 page for books. So.
Fabulous. Yeah, the Ministry of the Future is like this. I was traveling to KubeCon recently. I was like, should I take it? It's so huge. It takes up so much space in my bag, but I ended up taking it because it was a 14-hour flight. What about you, Mark?
I've tried to pick up Samuelson, but yeah, they're like 1,100. Yeah, so I'll try to get to that later on, maybe this summer. But a book I've been picking up and putting down and picking up and putting down and finally finished was Isaac Asimov's one of the robot anthologies. So it's a lot of his early stories or early drafts of his stories that fed into bigger novels. And that was great because the few of them are just gems that I'd never seen elsewhere.
Amazing. Lovely. I love Isaac Asimov stuff. A lot of science fiction, fantasy.
I like it.
This is great. Good book recommendations. Okay. What about you, Joe?
I just finished, I've been working my way. Last year, I bought myself the collected hardbacks of Terry Pratchett from the Discworld Emporium. And so I've been working my way. I don't think I've read every book by Terry Pratchett. I kind of read what I could check out from the library in the early 2000s. And then, but anyway, I just finished Moving Pictures, and then I'm working on Reaper Man right now. So I'm trying to read them in publication order. So
nice dedication. I love it. That makes sense. I know you're an avid book reader.
I haven't been reading as much as I should. I've been more, now everything we were watching just finished up last week, like Succession, Ted Lasso, Miss Maisel, and Barry all wound up in the same week. So now we're like,
oh my.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. There are quite a lot of long-standing series that people love that ended recently. Victor, what are you reading?
First of all, I think I have ADHD. That's why I read books really fast. However, I think it's really flipping through rather than reading. Right now, because of a really real interest and a need, I'm actually reading the Kubernetes documentation book, and that's my favorite book. Is for that I have to read instead of flipping through. So that's what I'm reading right now.
Yeah, lovely. A good bedtime read, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Hugh, what about you?
I've really been enjoying a series of books called the Arcane Casebook. It's set in the 1930s in New York, but like if magic was real. So it's kind of a mix of reality with a lot of like kind of fantasy elements within a world you already know, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's like a 10-book series, and the latest one just came out, so I'm reading it now. That's very cool.
It's nice to have something next when you're really into it. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate you joining today. If you have something you want to propose for the SIG, there is a project proposal doc in the agenda. And I'm happy to chat with you beforehand if you have any questions about what that might look like. And there are plenty of things to participate in now. One thing that I didn't put in here that is coming to a close is the DoK white paper project we've been working on with the storage tag. That is nearing the end. It's just in proofreading now, and that should be coming out pretty soon. And if you want to contribute to any projects, the project proposals are in the agenda as well, and you can reach out to the people, the project leads on Slack anytime and ask them questions. So thank you all for joining, and the next meeting will be on Slack. We rotate between Slack and Zoom. We'll see you on Slack in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everybody. Take care.